And timer starting.
Hey Jabbers, welcome back. This week, Gabby and I are just gabbing about some different wedding hot take topics. So, we're going to dive in and just kind of give our thoughts on some wedding hot takes and how we kind of see the industry, where it's going. And these might be some topics you disagree with, but let's dive into our thoughts. And we'd love to hear from you guys. So, feel free to comment or send us an email. Like we love hearing from you guys and maybe hearing hot takes of your own that we aren't going to talk about. And maybe we can dive into those at a future episode.
Yes, indeed. Okay, these are like talked about all over the place. I feel like we've also probably heard about them on other podcasts, and it's our turn. We have thoughts, we have opinions, and you're here to hear about it. So, okay, Kari, let's talk about AI, right? Um, what are your thoughts on using it in the wedding business? And I'm talking both like AI generated photos, as well as AI to maybe on the couple side, AI to plan your wedding. Like if someone goes into ChatGPT and is like, hey, plan my wedding date is this is my wedding venue. Plan, give me a wedding plan. What are your thoughts on kind of both sides of that?
Oh man, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about AI. I feel like it's really good. I've been using it a lot for my business, just within marketing. But also sometimes getting responses, I'm like, oh, that's not a great response, or that's like really cheesy advice, or advice that I just like wouldn't give to clients. I think using AI for photos, we've seen this a lot. I think Gabby probably have two circulating on Instagram, TikTok, but people are AI generating photos of these like really unrealistic weddings. And I think it's ruining the industry because it's giving clients an even more outlandish idea of what their wedding can look like. I mean, I remember, I think this was circulating last year, but it was an AI generated photo of a wedding on an airplane.
Oh my
And
God.
did you see this?
No, I need to look it up.
Okay, so it was like all of this, it was like in the airplane, but like all of the seats were like not in the rows, right? So it was like a giant table. But like if you studied the photo, there was no way for people to get to their seats because like it was all crammed in there. And so they'd have to like literally walk on the seats. But like the photo looked so cool that people were like, oh my God, what a good idea. Like getting married on a plane. And you're like, it's not even feasible. Like the photo just logistically doesn't even work. And so I think AI can trick our brains, right? To not really think about the logistics and the reality of the photo, where we're like, wow, like I even saw it and I was like, that's pretty cool. But then I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't work at all. So I do think it creates these like visions that are not possible or really, really pricey, right? Because I think we already had that issue with Pinterest and photos from like blogs and things like that from weddings that like people had really high budgets. And then clients would come to us and bring a photo of an arch, even if it was like something that I had done in the past. And they're like, I love this. I want to do it. But like that arch is their total floral budget.
Right.
And I'm like, I tell them that. And then they're like, oh, I didn't realize that, you know? And so I think there's a lot of misleading on
Mhm.
photos like that because although some of them are inspiration, people are like, I want to make that happen. And you're like, yeah, but that arch is $4,000 alone.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like AI was kind of like misleading potential couples into thinking what their wedding might be.
Yeah, 1000%. And I think as on the client perspective, nailed it. Like that can it for the uneducated person, if it doesn't say this was an AI generated photo, I think that can be super confusing to them. On the business side, I will say I used AI photos to create conversation on Instagram. So I did a few posts like this where I typed in something like, um, unique wedding design in the middle of uh the safari, like a safari inspired wedding in the middle of, the desert or whatnot. And it came up with like this crazy AI generated thing. And I had a disclaimer that says these are AI generated photos, but these are just so fun to create conversation. Which one's your favorite? And one of them was like on a boat, maybe an airplane, like stuff like that, where it's so out of this world. But I could also see it helping us as creators and designers lead us to like more, let our imagination go a little bit. Like I can see it as a tool to be like, okay, I want to design this tablescape. I want it to be different, but I want it to be, of course, affordable, reasonable, and actually logistically possible. But how could I maybe tell AI how to give me maybe some ideas that will lead then to me thinking of something that's more realistic? So I could see that being used in that way. Now, the part about using AI to help plan your wedding, I don't think we can replace an actual wedding planner. And if we want to really go down to the actual just day of coordination piece, that cannot be replaced by AI. You cannot hand a paper of AI generated content to your Aunt Sue and say, here you go. AI planned my wedding. Now execute it. Like, for any wedding planner listening, our job will not be replaced in that sense. Where I do think AI can help couples that are maybe a little more budget conscious is typing stuff in like, I'm getting married in 9 months at this venue. Can you give me a list of items that I need to make sure I get done by certain months? And in that sense, I kind of love that. Like, I might even do that as a wedding planner and have this
Hmm.
checklist added to all my wedding packages just to help the client stay on track. Will it be generic? Probably. Will it apply to everybody? Probably not. And also, will it be well, this is actually a prompt that I would probably give it to make sure that it's LGBTQ inclusive, like just making sure that it's not always
Hmm.
using brides and grooms and stuff like that. That's something that's important to us. But yeah, I do think it can be a helpful tool. But I also, to your point, Carrie, I think it can be super deceiving and it needs to be written in like bold, bright red letters. Like, this is an AI generated photo. Are you willing to proceed to view it? You know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I I think I've seen some things too where it's like you have to be careful still with AI, right? Because it's not going to always be correct. And so I think even asking it questions about a wedding, some of those answers might not apply to you, or it might be the wrong answer. And I think that's where we have to be diligent to be like, does that make sense? Does that sound logistically possible? Um, and I think that's where like we come in to really help guide because we have the personal experience, we have the knowledge of working at certain venues and all of the weddings that we've done. So I definitely think it's a good tool to help assist, but not to rely on fully.
Yeah. Yes. What if this literally made me think of something. What if we started offering a service? And for any wedding planner out there that's listening, I give you permission to offer this same service. What if we were like a package, a hourly consultation package that was like, fix my wedding? And it was all the people who did or double check my AI wedding and all the people that had asked ChatGPT or some type of other AI thing to plan their wedding, and they are down to the wire and they just want to make sure that it's all feasible. Like, we offer an hourly, I mean, this is for anybody who has extra time on their hands, which is probably not the case for many. But like, I just know that there is going to be a
Just
wave.
curious.
Yeah, there's going to be a wave
Hmm.
of people that are tackling this on their own and really trusting AI to do that. But to your point, I think there's some misinformation and there's also information that does not apply to every city or is incorrect if AI is pulling from the whole internet, it is not applicable to every single country, city, state, whatever you want it to be. And prices are probably incorrect as well if you're asking it to do a budget
I
for you.
was just gonna say, I like really want to right now. I have it pulled up. I want to ask what the average cost of a wedding is because I feel like we've talked about that of just like how certain, wedding websites give like national averages and they are not anywhere near I feel like is an average spend for us in LA, you know?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, if the Knot and Wedding Wire and all those platforms are constantly incorrect about the prices of weddings, I mean, like you're saying, they're doing this national average, but they're also pulling from like small DIY weddings to big luxury. So it's not an accurate average.
Yeah, like I just did it and it says the national average is $35,000.
Yeah, that won't get you
I'm like,
much.
no.
No.
I don't know the last wedding. I mean, the last wedding that I did that was at $35,000 was probably back in 2014
It had to be.
because they paid me like $500.
Yeah, right. Ugh,
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like take it everything kind of with a grain of salt and lean into the experts in the field who are actual humans who know what they're doing.
please.
So, okay, this is great because I feel like it leads to client expectations, right? Of seeing these AI images. Um, what is your feeling on kind of where the industry is going? Client expectations, I feel like can sometimes be a little ridiculous. I think, there's a lot of TikTok advice from people who got married and feel like they're an expert on weddings, like we said, AI images, comparison game. How do we feel like social media is ruining these experiences for couples getting married?
I think the biggest thing is really what you said, the comparison game. I think everybody is trying to get photos for Instagram to show, and they're wanting like super fast sneak peeks from people. And it's not just to keep for themselves, it's literally so they can post that night on social media. And wait, don't get me started on like, not that I'm against this, but this just proves my point. The content creators, the wedding day content creators are being hired by couples. Like I understand it if we hired content creators, which I love the idea of it, to follow us on the wedding day to show behind the scenes and to show potential clients how we are on the wedding day, that to me is a huge marketing like an expense. I would write that off, no problem. But for couples to do it, it's not, it certainly does not replace a videographer. Let's just be clear on that. It is literally vertical content to be posted on TikTok, Snapchat. I don't know if that's where they're posting it, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. I literally was thinking about Snapchat earlier this week and being like, that is past my generation. Like I never got on that. But anyway, I digress. So yes, I do think because of these unclear AI images and because of budgets that perhaps their friends have that they maybe don't have, they are getting inundated with expectations that we have to then bring them back to reality with and say, okay, love that image. Image alone is $100,000 just in that little square. So, how do we make this more aligned with your $60,000 budget or whatever the case may be? And that is a really hard part of our job, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. And I think also just with inflation, I have a hard time trying to stay within clients' budgets sometimes because all of the vendors that I know that maybe were in that more affordable price range are rightfully so charging more. And so I think it's twofold, right? Of like everything just cost more now than it did even 4 years ago. Um, but yeah, I mean, I have a lot of clients who even bring photos to me and I'm like, I love that idea, but it's out of your budget, you know? And then it's like one of two things happens. They pivot or they're like, let's just do it. We'll figure out how to pay for it, you know? But yeah, I do think social media isn't, I don't know if like ruining weddings is the right word, but I think a lot of people live up to these expectations of like having photos to post and making sure it's Pinterest worthy. I mean, even when I got married, it was like I was like, oh my gosh, how do I like make sure I wanted it to look good just from my like designer planning perspective and like have a great guest experience. But it is funny in the back of my mind, I was like, I really want the photos to turn out so well. And I'm like, now I just wish I wouldn't have spent so much time on that because it just isn't like a priority, you know?
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure socially. Like I understand why people want to have that incredible wedding and show it off to their friends. On the other side too, I do appreciate when couples come to me and say, I attended my friend's wedding and here's what I liked and here's what I didn't like. And I know that's a little bit different than expectations, but I do think it brings, like, they notice stuff, right? Because now they're attending weddings as an engaged couple planning their wedding. And so they're very attentive to the client experience, or there were too many flowers for the table and we were doing family style. I'm like, okay, glad you noticed that so that when I tell you about it, you're not going to be surprised. Or, oh, we thought we wanted, a big cake, but turns out we didn't even have any that night because we were ready to dance. Or, so I like when they're attending their friend's wedding and they come back and can report on things that they thought went well and things that they didn't really care about.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've had a lot of clients in the past year do that, and I'm like, it's so helpful because it gives me a lot of direction, like design wise, on what to suggest and what to do. And I think it's just helpful because it helps speak to who they are and what is sort of speaking to like them as a couple and how they want the guest experience to be. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think everything with social media, it's kind of like take a step back from it and do what you want to do. And even if it's not Instagram worthy, like whatever makes you guys feel like it represents the two of you at your wedding day, like go ahead and do it.
Agreed. Okay. Hot take number three, we're moving over to the vendor side of things. So, I think the word luxury has been thrown around the last few years, like a lot. And are you feeling like everyone is trying to be a luxury wedding vendor? And what does that even mean?
I do feel like everyone's trying to be a luxury wedding vendor. I I guess I don't know. I mean, I think luxury definitely is in this like next um level of clientele who really have a lot of money to spend, and there are different expectations for luxury clients. I think that a lot of my clients probably spend around 100 to $200,000, right, on a wedding. And most people would be like, that's definitely luxury, but that's not even a luxury wedding. And so there's high expectations when you're spending that amount of money, right? Rightfully so. But I feel like that clientele is still pretty relaxed, low key, at least for the clients that I have. But I think when you're getting to the 200,000 plus 500,000, $1 million weddings, like that is luxury. And that's a whole other bar of like client experience, guest experience, vendor experience. And no, I don't think everyone can be a luxury wedding vendor. It's just not possible. But also there is such a large group of people in this realm that of clients like that I serve in this like $200,000 and below. And they're still doing really amazing events and weddings, and they're wonderful people to serve. And so I think luxury, I don't know, I guess like to define luxury, but I think like you really have to have your business dialed in on the service that you're providing, because if you're charging 20, 30, 40,000 for your service, you better have a good solid customer experience and be delivering on everything that you're providing to those people.
Yeah. Agreed. I think you're right about the whole thing. Like back when we started, $100,000 wedding was probably considered luxury, and now it's unfortunately it's a lot of money, but it's kind of standard for if you're wanting what you're seeing on Instagram, you know? And
Yeah.
my big thing with luxury is I think it can come in many forms. I don't necessarily think that someone has to, it doesn't have to do necessarily with an amount of money, but rather kind of what you mentioned, like the client experience. And having to, in order to charge what you want to charge as a luxury vendor, and that can mean anything to anybody, you get to choose. You have to, walk the walk and talk the talk, all that stuff, and really be able to, what you said, keep up with the client experience, guest experience, and deliver and probably go above and beyond, right? Like, not only meet your contract, but go a little bit above and beyond to show that. But I also like tell people luxury can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Like for us, it's not chandeliers and ball gowns. It's in fact spending on these excursions during, before the wedding day. Like a lot of our clients are taking their friends and family out on like Jeep tours in the desert or rafting trip. And like for them, that is luxury to be able to pay for your guests
Mm,
to have that experience. But when it comes to the wedding day, our clients are not splurging. They're not spending $50,000 on florals. They're probably more so focusing on good food, some music, and like the overall cost of the wedding is high, but it's spread out in different ways. So I just want wedding vendors to know, if they're listening, know that your luxury can mean something very different than just glam ballroom, which is what we maybe think of when we're thinking of the word luxury. So I think that, like, in general, the word luxury has kind of lost its meaning a little bit, and we just have to be able to hold up our end of the bargain when we're charging high prices.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the guest experience is so key to making the wedding be what it is for people. And even though I think luxury has always kind of been in that upper class of like people spending a lot of money, I agree. I think that you can be like, we're providing a lot of different experiences throughout the weekend for guests that have flown in or driven a long way. And I think like there's still a lot of money to be had in the like lower tier of weddings that aren't considered luxury, so to speak, air quotes. Um, and so I think like we can like not everybody needs to be in this like luxury category because you can still make great money from clients who are only spending $200,000 on a wedding weekend, and have really great experiences for that
Oh,
client too.
yeah. And actually, I was also going to say, if you're listening to this and you're like, you know what, I live in a small rural town. I don't have quote unquote luxury clients, but I really enjoy my demographic. I enjoy the clients that I work with, and I do a few backyard weddings, or I work at a local venue where the average wedding is maybe that $35,000 that we were talking about earlier. That is okay. Not everybody has to serve the luxury and ultra luxury market. In fact, we hope they don't, because there needs to be professional wedding vendors in all of these categories. And for you, if you're passionate about what you do and you do an amazing job, and you are in a smaller town where your cost of living is a lot lower than a big city, it makes sense for you to charge less, but still offer an amazing service and meet the budgets of people that are in that local area. So you could still consider your experience, and you're offering a luxury experience. I mean, let's be honest, having a wedding is a luxury experience. You could literally go to the
Mhm.
courthouse and get married for probably $35. I don't even know how much does a wedding, what does that even cost? I don't even know. But, it could be a very, very, very small amount of money. So anyone choosing to even rent a wedding venue, it's luxury.
Yeah, 100%. Spending, I think, any sort of amount of tens of thousands of dollars is a luxury for people to do. So, I think that's a good point, Gabby, of like making your experience, like your client experience a great one, and how you serve your clients to make them really feel special and taken care of, really changes like how that like luxury experience for them. Okay, so one more final hot take, which I'm curious, I guess, Gabby, I wonder if this is happening a lot to you, but clients not writing reviews anymore for planners, other wedding vendors that worked their wedding for them. Why do you think that is? And do you follow up with clients post-wedding asking for reviews?
Kari, I'm gonna die wondering the answer to this question. Literally, it's gonna haunt me for the next 100 years that I'm gonna live because I'm gonna live that long. So I have it in my workflow where I offboard clients, and 1 week after their wedding, I have an email that I customize that goes out and it has a link to a couple review places. I don't want to overwhelm them, so I think I only put two, like our Google link and I can't remember the other one. But I also say you can copy and paste that one review that you wrote one time into the other place. And I cannot get reviews for the life of me. I will say I got one, my first wedding of 2025. She was an absolute delight. And I mean, she texted me how grateful she was and how much fun she had with us. And she answered my email immediately with the nicest review that I'm going to have to just continue to promote over and over because it's the most recent thing since the beginning of time. But I do not understand why we get like hugs and kisses and thank yous and tears at the end of the night after the actual wedding. But for the life of me, I cannot get a review. What is happening?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've experienced a little bit of both sides. So clients that I have reached out to recently from last year, I did have a good handful write reviews. And I also do the same thing. Like, please leave a review on one or all of these websites. You can totally just like copy and paste it. Um, but then like some people just never respond to the email. And it's a very weird thing because they were very responsive people throughout the planning process. And it is weird to send that. And also, they're the people who are like crying beyond grateful for working with us at the end of the wedding. Don't know how they'll ever thank us. And I'm like, you can leave a review.
That's it. That's it.
So, yeah, I don't know if it's just they're like busy, they're kind of exhausted from the wedding, and so it's not really a priority to respond. Even though I know they would totally leave a review. Um, but I'm curious too because I'm not someone who ever leaves reviews on anything,
Hmm.
which is interesting because I love reading reviews when I'm buying stuff,
But
but
are you
I'm
prompted?
not much of
Are you being prompted to leave one, or you're just saying like after you leave a restaurant, you're not going to go write a review?
right. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
like if I buy something on Amazon, whatever, I'm not going back to write a review, even if I love it or I hate it, I guess. So I'm just curious, like maybe these people just like hate writing reviews or it's not something they like to do. Because sometimes I want to take the text message that I get after
Yes.
the wedding and be like, can I just write this as a review on my website? Or like you literally could copy and paste the text message
Yeah.
and leave it as a review. So I have a little bit of both. Like I follow up and sometimes people just don't respond at all, which is very interesting. And then other times they're like 100% like leave a great review and it's wonderful. But yeah, I don't understand like the ghosting after
I
such
don't
like
get
a
it.
great relationship.
Would you rather get a 5-star glowing review written or tip at the end of the night?
Oh, that's a great question. Both. No, I'm just kidding.
You can't say
Um,
both, one or the other.
probably the review.
Same.
Probably the review. I
It'll
mean, the
go
tip is really
further.
great. Yeah, the tip is always really great and really appreciative. But yeah, having like a recent review from them, and even I often tell people like, if you don't want to leave a review, like please share my information with other people you know
Yeah.
getting married, like refer me out because that also has paid dividends when a
Yeah.
referral is personal and comes from someone. So,
Wait, Carrie,
um,
in our we should start implementing that in our final email to clients. We say, "Okay, you have two options. You can you can Venmo me $500 as a tip, or you can write
leave
me
a
a
review
review." What if we
or do both.
or do both? What if we start writing that in our contract and they have to initial which one they want?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh my
Then
God.
Gabby's definitely going to get all of her reviews.
Yes. Seriously. Okay, no. What if, okay, I'm just thinking out loud, and I'd love to hear from Jabbers if this is even legally possible, if anybody knows. But could we have something for real in the contract that says, um, within 30 days of the wedding, I will share my feedback. Like it could be write a review slash share feedback. Because if it didn't go well, I don't want them to write a 1-star review, but I do want to hear their feedback.
Right.
And I wonder if there is a way, because I do have them initial several things like I understand that there is a replanning fee if we change the scope of our wedding and like I
Mhm.
hire a professional DJ, all that kind of stuff. But
Sure.
is that tacky or is there a nice way to encourage them to do that?
Yeah, maybe we have to figure out a nice way to
Yeah.
encourage that. What
Yeah.
about, I mean, you could be like, hey, if you leave a review, I'll send you a $10 gift card. Like,
Well, that's what my other thought was. Like, do we have to start paying them for, because it's
yeah,
true, when
for the
I am
reviews.
offered a gift card, I will write a review. I do.
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm. That,
I'm curious, do you, after a wedding is over with a client, do you have a call to discuss the wedding? And
no, I
like if they have like feedback or questions or whatever, or is it sort of like, hey, thanks so much, leave a review, have a good life type
yeah.
of thing?
Yeah, 1000%. It's like have fun on your honeymoon. Um
Yeah.
No, I will say I've had a few like drinks with couples after, like those couples that we really hit it off. And I've had some definitely when I lived in LA that were on the production side, like their work was on the production side. So they wanted to know the behind the scenes of how the wedding went, if there was drama, like they loved it. So I can think of a
Yeah.
couple specifically that we did meet up for dinner and drinks and they were so lovely and we just talked about the drama. But no, do you have an actual like offboarding call?
No, I have never done that. I had a planner help with a wedding last year because I was out on maternity leave, and she did like a follow up with my clients to have a call, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And it was all like great stuff. But I've just never done that, and so I was curious if a lot of other planners have like a
Hmm,
offboarding call. Um,
I'd love to
I mean,
know.
sometimes clients will like come back and want to like chat about stuff if like something did go wrong with a vendor, things like that. But otherwise, I've never done that. And I've never
Same.
really offered it up either. Maybe I'm afraid of,
Yeah,
of them like having something to say. Um, but also I guess most clients are like super happy and overjoyed, and or at least that's what they tell me the night of, whether there's alcohol involved or not.
right.
They're
But then they
really
won't,
happy, you know?
then they don't freaking write a review.
Yeah.
I need to know if you are a,
It's the little things.
yes.
Reviews are powerful. Yeah.
They are. They really are. They go a
Yeah.
long way. And okay, and I will say though, shout out to those who do write a review and they know how to write a good review where they mention our name, they identify key things that we're really good at and how we help them solve a problem. Like that was so helpful. Um yeah, I really like that cuz they're when they're looking on Google, that stuff shows up and they need to
Yeah.
identify some really good keywords.
for sure.
Uh,
Oh,
well,
I feel like Gabby and I could keep talking about all of the things. But we do have another hot takes episode that we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks, on some more topics that we feel very passionate about. So, Jabbers, as always, thank you so much for tuning in to us just kind of riffing and gabbing about all of the things. But we will be back in a couple of weeks.
bye. Okay.